Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 107. In this episode, I am going to share my story, at least part of my story, about my healing journey, specifically in the last 1 to 2 years. And this is a kick-off episode where I'm going to bring on several guests where we are going to talk all about healing, share stories, share experiences. I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold yet because some of these episodes I have not recorded yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. This topic is needed. I truly believe that, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this information with you. So stay tuned. Hello, fire goddesses. Welcome to the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. My name is Angela Noel, and I am a prosperity coach for the newly awakened or awake curious, driven overachiever, and overdoer. After running a successful acupuncture practice in Boston for 12 years, I decided to hang my hat by closing the practice and pursue what it is that I'm really meant to do in this world, and that is to serve humanity online on a global scale. Using my background in Chinese medicine, along with the brain science of habits, spirituality, and divine masculine and feminine energy balance, I am here to help you not just understand, but know how powerful you are and that you are the person who is responsible for having the finances, inner peace, radiant health, and energy, aka the fire, in your life that you've always desired. My intention with this podcast is to serve humanity, no matter what gender you identify as, to help bring out the divine feminine goddess in each and every one of you. As you probably are already aware, the world is changing and is begging for the goddess to come out in each and every one of you. So, fire goddesses, stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. I am your host, Angela Noel, and today I want to talk about healing and also make an announcement about a project that I have in the works that I'm very, very excited about. I may have talked about it a while back, and then I ended up moving, and there were a lot of life changes, and I felt that I needed some space to fully get into alignment and decide if I still want to launch this program. And I realized after giving it some time and really allowing this integration to happen, that is this move that I just made across the country, I realized that I still very much want to do this project. And this project is about healing. And as you guys probably know at this point, I basically turned my life inside out and did a full 180. And if you've been on a healing journey, you know what this is like. It's like if you go through a dark night of the soul and you come out the other side, which we always do if we choose to. I really believe that going through a dark night of the soul or an ego death or a shamanic death is one of the best things that can happen in order to organize growth, in order to expand, in order to have everything in life that you want. But when you are in the thick of a dark night of the soul, when you are in the thick of a ego death, it is really, really difficult, isn't it? It can be really hard. And I am so grateful, as somebody that probably goes through an ego death at least once a week. Sometimes it's really hard to even keep score of them because I could have an ego death or a shamanic death in an afternoon and then pass through it, or in an hour and it passes through. And sometimes they take a little bit longer. So I say one, and then I'm kind of chuckling to myself because I'm thinking, Angela, that is not even an accurate number. Like, it seems like, especially since I moved to Sedona, I have one of these situations. It seems like every day. So it's all good because if it weren't for these invitations to go and do the deep healing work, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And I just want to give you an example, okay? I was filling out my planner for the day today, and this is a really great. I'll put this in my show notes. My friend Chelsea designs these planners. It's called the Align Planner and Journal. It's it's really been the only planner and journal that I've ever used with success. Where I think now I'm going on 2 years, 2 years or close to 2 years. I think I started in summer of 2021 using these planners, and I love them because it's like all in one journal, all in one planner, and everything is there's you can write everything in this journal. So I'll put a link to it so that you have it if you want to order one. But so in the beginning of this cycle, these planners are intended to use quarterly. And I have to admit, like, this is an this I started this planner earlier this year, and I'm still kind of finishing off with it because with the move and everything and all the transition, I didn't fill in all the pages, so I'm still working through this one. So on page 5 of this journal, there's a section where it gives you the opportunity to write out your goals to manifest this year. And I haven't looked at this since early this year. This is what I wrote. Move to Sedona, launch a group program, release debt, move into dream home. And then there's another goal on here that doesn't feel relevant or resonant anymore, so I kind of threw that out. But move to Sedona, check. Release debt. I paid off all my debt in January, February. I think I finished the rest of it in March. I have not yet moved into my dream home, but I am in the process of that. But I think about move to Sedona, check. Release debt. I paid off all of my debt this year. And one day, maybe if it feels resonant to talk about it openly, I will. But I was that person that had a fair amount of debt. I had a bunch of credit card debt. I had student loan debt. I had pandemic debt. I had, what else did I have? I had a care credit account for the dental work my airway work that I'm getting done. I mean, I had debt, okay? And I paid off every single thing except for one student loan, low interest student loan. I could pay it off if I wanted to. I choose not to. I paid everything off. I paid off all my private student loans from acupuncture school, from grad school. I paid that stuff off because it was very, very important for me to do that. And it was uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong. It was a change. But have I noticed that that money is missing, or have I noticed any change in my lifestyle because I paid off all of my debt? No. You know why? Because letting go of that debt, and let me just add a quick note about this, because in society, and there's a lot of people out there with different opinions about debt, but in society, we are told that debt is bad. Again, polarized society, not a fan of it, because if it wasn't for this debt that I had that I just paid off, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. Because I use credit cards to invest in things that enriched my life. I use them as leverage. Truth be told, I kept them longer than I was comfortable with because I didn't have the self-worth at the time to know that if I paid these credit cards off immediately, that the money would just continue to flow in afterwards. Because that's how it works. So by me being afraid to pay off the debt, by you being afraid to go out and do that thing that maybe out of character for you, but you know that it's something that's really going to enrich your life and you don't do it. And I'm not being a poster child for financial irresponsibility. But there's so many people that choose not to do the things in their life that they really want or that could really help them because they think it's too expensive. And chances are, I mean, I'll speak for myself, there is opportunity somewhere and you have your blind spots going and you don't realize that you actually have something available to you as a way to pay for that thing that you really know is going to change your life. And it's, to each their own. I'm not placing any judgment on anybody, but I do think it's interesting that we, as a society, have been told it's okay to go out and buy designer handbags or Taylor Swift tickets or whatever other novel item or service or experience that you're paying for. Not that there's anything wrong with Taylor Swift. I thought about going to her show myself. I still think about it every day, but for me, it's an energetic thing. I don't think it's an energetic match for me to go to that. But it's really interesting that that kind of stuff is considered okay. But investing in like a weight loss program because you want to lose weight because you want to look good, not necessarily because you want to release weight so that you can be more healthy. Do you understand the difference? So it's really fascinating that personal development is still frowned upon, while it is okay to go out and buy that designer hair dryer. You know what I'm saying? So I digress. I want to go back to talking about healing and letting go and surrendering and detaching in order to open up the possibilities that life has to offer you. And I don't even know where to begin right now because it's really, people ask me all the time about this move to Sedona. Why Sedona and how are you feeling about it? And it's only been a couple months since I got here. However, first of all, I kind of just knew that I needed to be here. I just knew it. I knew I needed to be here. I knew I needed to move here. And I did it pretty quickly and swiftly. But in order to manifest what you want in life, you need to become a master at moving through those dark times of life without getting too enmeshed or entangled in it. In order to have the life you want, you need to choose right now that you are willing to do the hard stuff, to do the deep healing work. And, I know that that's not a prerequisite to having what you want. But I have a feeling that there's a lot of people that are listening to this that have what's called a quote-unquote, by societal standards, they have a really good life. They have a lot of money and they have a lot of friends and they have, they're married to a really good person and they have kids and they're blessed with all this abundance. But how many of you who consider it doesn't matter where you're at in life, status, no status, I don't really care about that. What I want to know from you is when you sit down and truthfully look at your life, are you living your life based on what you truly want? You may be listening and have millions, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars and a dream home and a home that, people would die to live in. But are you living a life that's really true to you? Or are you just going along with what everybody else expects of you? Because I'll tell you what, that was me. That was me for many, many years. That was me for almost my entire existence. And at 51 years old, I'm still trying to figure out what I want. I knew that I wanted to move here to Sedona. What I didn't know that when I came to Sedona, I did not know what was waiting for me here, like the getting here was easy, okay? I sold my house in Boston. I left. I let go of a lot of my belongings. I hired a moving company. I moved in my tiny, tiny, small sports car with my two pets. It was actually, considering all of that, it was a really easy, smooth experience. Everything was super easy and non-complicated. Everything fell into place beautifully. But you want to know something? When I got here, my life blew up. It blew up not in the way that you think of, like, oh my God, my life's a disaster. I wasn't one of those people. I was not a hot mess. But all of that healing that I didn't realize was still on the docket for me, waiting to be acknowledged. It was waiting for me when I got to Sedona. And it makes me wonder, because I thought I had healed. I spent a year and some change in living in my own place in Boston, just outside of Boston. I moved out of my husband's house. I had my pets with me. I was living a good life. And I was healing, but I didn't heal enough. I didn't heal enough. And I know a lot of people who listen to this podcast know me personally or know my story. And it's not my intention to ever reveal. I always want to be very compassionate and intentional with my words, especially when it involves other people. But I have to share this because I feel that it's going to help a lot of you out there. When I moved here, I'm just being completely candid and vulnerable right now. When I moved here, it was only the beginning of my healing journey. It was very eye-opening. That's all I've been doing since I got here. I had a lot of stuff come up around my marriage, wondering what could have been better, what I could have done better. I've been divorced now for a year, legally divorced. And if I never made this move here, I don't know if I would have done that level of healing back in Boston. So now what that's doing is it's opening up this new portal for me to decide what this next chapter is going to look like. And I couldn't have done it if I hadn't done the deep work. I needed to let go of everything. Everything. And just when I thought I had healed, I found out that my ex-husband put my previous home, the house that we had together, on the market. And I'm happy for him. I'm so overjoyed that he's moving on too and selling the house. But it was another shamanic death that I didn't anticipate, I didn't know. And I'm not totally convinced that if I still was living in my condo in Boston, if I would have felt it as immensely and intensely as I'm feeling it here. And I've moved on from it for the most part, but I had to detach from that house. I had to detach from everything. And those of you who are healing from something, everything, our whole life, we have that potential to have everything just kind of in front of us all the time. And we need to be I found that for me, I needed to be very intentional about what I was bringing in to my system. So even on my phone, when the phone tells you 1 year ago today, 2 years ago today, and that's the grieving process. That's part of it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to go through this kind of separation. And when I talk about separation, I'm not just talking about separation from the relationship. It's actually a separation of an old identity it's no longer mine. And if this was not happening, I'm not convinced that I'd be able to do some of the things that I'm working on right now, kind of behind the scenes, that I really can't discuss right now. And it's such a blessing. And I know that obviously this didn't happen overnight. It was a culmination of, 15, 16, 17 years of my life. It didn't happen overnight, but it's an absolutely necessary process. I'm on the other side enough to be able to look back and recognize that this is a very necessary process, to be going through this level of healing. And I want to be able to support you out there who are listening and you're like, this is getting to me. This is speaking to a part of me that I didn't even know that I had, or maybe you sense that it's there, but you just didn't want to look at it. I hear you. The first part is realizing that there is a problem, right? Whatever it is. I'm going to keep this kind of non-specific right now, but realizing that there is a problem, and then to actually take action and do something about it. It requires a lot of bravery. It requires a lot of courage. And when I think about those days, when I was sitting in the therapist's office, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I know that there's some things in my life that need to change, but what's wrong with me? That was always where I went. Like if something was not right in my life, then there must be something that's wrong with me. And let me tell you, that has taken many, many years to heal, and something that I still work on every day, and especially for women, because we're groomed to be good girls and anything but. We get called all kinds of names, don't we? Recently I had a difficult conversation with a friend of mine, and I basically had to tell him to bugger off, and I used strong language because I felt like that was the only way that he was truly going to get it. But I needed to do it. It doesn't matter, He could have been the nicest person in the world. It doesn't matter. He was no longer a person. I realized this a long time ago. All right, let's back up. That this individual, no matter what I said, no matter what I asked for, no matter what I wanted in this relationship, and this is a more recent thing, he was never going to be able to give that to me. And this compassionate, empathic person that I am, I was like, but he's so sweet, and he's so kind, and I see his heart. Sometimes ladies and guys too, I realize guys deal with this too. You need to just do the hard thing and cut the cords. And it hurts, You think it hurts the other person? It's going to hurt you more if you don't discover what you want and take actions towards that. How much longer are you willing to go through life unhealed and allowing other people to decide for you? I think of each and every one of you born onto this earth who has the honor to live in this human form for a very short period of time, by the way. And so many people are too afraid to let go of their old identity. And, I don't want to sit here. I'm pretty close to this process. So I am not this person sitting on my little queen's chair telling you all what to do like I'm so much better than you, because I'm talking about this because I just went through this and I'm still healing. And I will be healing for the rest of my life. We're here to evolve and upgrade and expand our consciousness. And the way that we do that is through experiences that we have in the 3D form, through our body. There's not a lot of people talking about it because it's not the way society was structured. But once you start to really get that and accept that as truth, it becomes a lot easier to be committed to this work, to be committed to healing. And What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing. So yeah, when I look at this manifest this year list, I look at this and I'm like, yeah, it's already done. I know it is. I haven't looked at this in 8 or 9 months, 8 months, 7 months. I kind of forgot about this. And I know that these things are done. I know in my heart that they're done. Because all of these things, these goals to manifest this year, they're potentials. They're just potentials. If you follow Joe Dispenza's work, that's what he talks about. He talks about dreams and manifestations as potentials. And I consider it already done. Now, who do I need to be to complete this list? It's only the end of July. Things happen really, really fast. So who do you need to be? Who do you need to be? Now, and I guess an important question to ask yourself is, what do you want? What do you want? And then are you living that thing? And, I find from, in my career of helping people since 2007, most people don't know what they want. To be candid, a lot of these illnesses that we see are just manifestations in the body because the soul knows what it wants and the human has not caught up with it yet. So you need to learn how to develop your intuition, and you need to learn how to trust yourself that when those little pangs of intuition come in, it's the truth. I wrote a post about this last week, 2 weeks ago. There's no question. I'll post that post in the show notes also. There's no question. Like, you already know that this is your truth because you surrender your ego and you trust that this information, this intel that's coming in is your truth. And then you just keep doing that on repeat over and over and over again. And after a while, it just becomes habit, becomes part of the way you live. And that's how you figure out what you want if you don't think you know what you want. The other night, somebody asked me, because, I'm in an Airbnb right now. And I'm looking for a home. And, buying a home in Sedona is a big financial investment, So I was kind of thinking about some of my options. And somebody asked me that the other night, what do you want? Because the practical part of me was like, well, I could live in a neighboring town for a while and save my money and then eventually get what I want. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's a really, a sound, financially responsible decision to make. But I thought about it and I was like, I moved here to be here in Sedona. I didn't move here to be somewhere else. If I'm going to live somewhere else, why don't I just move back to New York then, or move somewhere else? Because as you know, I think I've mentioned, maybe not, maybe I didn't mention this, is I've gone through homesickness since I moved here. Like, I'm really, really close with my parents. I'm really close with my family, my sister, and I miss them. I want them to be here with me. But I know that moving here is part of a bigger mission. It's really not about me and what I want always. I mean, here I am talking and asking what you want, but this is part of what I want is to live my Dharma. And living here in Sedona is part of living my Dharma. Sometimes the doubt sets in because I'm a human being, and then doubt is there to teach you a lesson. It's there to teach me a lesson. Self-doubt comes in when the ego just kind of kicks into high gear and was like, I'm not safe anymore. Help, 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 help. That's when that happens. So much fun, isn't it? So I invite you to just take a deep dive, and I was just thinking of somebody that I was sharing with a friend this morning. I have this friend that has outrightly told me that she doesn't like the direction that she's going in. I'm just going to keep it really, really, really just neutral. She doesn't like the direction she's going in, but the last I heard, she's still going in that direction that she doesn't want to be going in. And if you're listening, you know who you are. I don't think that I violated anybody's trust by saying this. But if you think I'm talking to you, chances are I am. And at what cost are you going to consider going along with what everybody else says they want? So I invite you, go out and get the support you need. go out and do this work. It's deep. It can get really, 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 I wouldn't say ugly because it's so beautiful. I wouldn't trade this path for anything. But there's days where I'm going to admit it's movies, it's Netflix, it's I don't have the stamina to even jump on my rebounder. And what I've realized in maybe only like the last 2 or 3 weeks is the way that I used to do things. And I think part of this is just, being in a new cycle of my life, as far as biologically speaking, menopause, hormone changes, all those things. And then there's this big change that I brought on myself in order to live my dharma, in order to heal deeply. But the way that I used to do things, it no longer applies, right? So even using working out as an example, there's days where I work out in the morning when I wake up, and there's days where I work out in the afternoon. And there's days where working out is really simple, like I just go out and take a walk. And there's days where I feel like I have accomplished something if I just do a little bit of a few reps with my dumbbells or a few squats or some stretches. And some days it's just because energetically it's so intense here in Sedona that it's okay if I don't do any of it. And what I've realized is the old way of, oh my God, I have to produce. That doesn't work for me anymore. That just leads to further burnout. It leads me to just state of misalignment. And I don't want to do that anymore. I'm here to help people, and if I'm constantly beating myself up because I didn't do everything or I didn't do a complete workout, then that's okay. There's no need to be hard on yourself. And that's the beauty is, as human beings, we're 89%, 93%, something like that, water. What would it look like if you start to embrace the element of water more? Of really just truly riding the wave and going with the flow. It took me about three injuries in the last year or two to fully realize that Orange Theory that I really loved, and then this studio that I used to go to when I was living in Waltham, Mass, for working out. It's a really great workout. All of them are great workouts. And they didn't feel good in my body anymore. And it took me getting hurt several times to finally get the lesson that, you know what, when I work out, I'm going to work out on my own terms, and I'm going to work out according to what feels good in my body. So I'm going to wrap this up because it's been almost time. But what I want to tell you is that this is the kickoff episode of a series of episodes that I'm going to do with a few beautiful people in my life, people that I love very, very much. They're my soul family, my soul brothers and sisters, and I'm going to interview each of them over the course of, I don't know, however long it takes. And we're going to talk about healing. And I don't know exactly to what capacity we're going to talk about it because each person is going to bring their experiences to the table. And as you know, my podcasting style is pretty cash. So whatever we end up talking about is exactly what needs to be said. But I'm really, really excited. So you definitely want to stay tuned for the next few months because these episodes are going to come out over that course of time. And once I'm done, then I'm done, and then the series will be over. But, getting 7 busy people to do a project like this sometimes takes time. So definitely stay tuned. I can't wait to share this with you. And as you already know, so much of healing is about detaching and letting go of your old identity. And I have a feeling and suspect that this is going to be a topic that's going to come up over and over again because the world is changing, is begging for this new version of us to come out. It's inviting us. We're being asked to rise up. Okay? And I'm here to be your guide and help you do this. So definitely keep listening. I'm back. I know I took quite a bit of a respite. I don't know. First I said it was a sabbatical, and then, it just took some time for me to go through this process. But I am back. I'm here to serve, and I can't wait to share these next episodes with you. And until next time, remember to be radiant, be powerfully authentic, and know that you can reclaim your fire at any time. Take good care, loves. I love you so much. Bye. Hi, this is Angela Noel, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you have found value in listening to this podcast, I would be so grateful if you could kindly share this podcast with those you care about. Please help me spread the word of empowerment and possibility and expansion by sharing this podcast. Or you could also leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Remember to follow me on Instagram at I am Angela Noel, or you could go to my website at www.angelanoelinternational.com to learn more about my work and to find out how you can work with me. Thank you very much.